Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well and having a great day so far. Today's video is an introduction to my 2023 project pan. So if you'd like to know which products I've picked out and why, grab yourself a drink, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep on watching. It's quite late in the year for me to be starting a project pan. I normally start them in January, but I have enjoyed taking a break from panning just to explore my full makeup collection and just not have that pressure to use particular items. But I know that I'm going to be adding a few new items to my collection in the coming weeks because of new holiday releases. I always like to review a few things for you guys. So I want to make sure that I'm using my existing makeup collection, and more importantly, I don't want to let some of the things expire. We've got 4 months left of 2023 and I'd like to increase my makeup empties for the year, so maybe a bit more intentional in the products that I'm trying to use. Everything that I've selected for this project I would like to use up where possible. So for that reason, I've excluded products like eyeshadow palettes, bronzers, blushers, lipsticks, things that I find harder to pan, and maybe I'll include those in a project next year. I've chosen 20 items for this project, which, is a little bit optimistic as we're in September already, but I am going to have a real good go at using these up. So now you know my reasoning behind wanting to do the project, let's take a look at what I've picked out. First up is the Laura Mercier Pure Canvas Primer, and this is the blurring one, which is sort of in a light lilac tube. I have used probably, about a third to a half of this already. It's not my favourite product, but primer in general is not my favourite. I'm perfectly happy just using a really good moisturiser before applying my base makeup. So primer is one of those categories where I want to trim down my collection. If I was to buy one primer, it would be the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I do really like that product, but as I've got a few in my collection, I'm not allowing myself to purchase that right now until, some of these are gone. So that's the reason for, wanting to get rid of this one. Next up is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Vanish, and this is a corrector and it's in the shade Fair. As you can see, I've used this a lot already. There's just, some product around the outside, but I've probably used this corrector at least 150 times already. It is the product that keeps on giving. So although it doesn't look like I've got too much left in the pan there, if I can get my camera to focus, I don't know whether this is going to take me 1 month, 2 months, or even the rest of the year to complete. A little does go a long way with this one. So I would say this is part of my regular makeup routine right now, so I shouldn't find it too difficult to keep reaching for this. I've also chosen the MAC Strobe Cream, and this is in the shade Pink Light. The reason that I've chosen this for the project is that I do prefer the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, and for that reason this product was getting quite neglected in my makeup collection. It is still a very good product, I do like it a lot, but as I said, it's not my preference. In terms of usage so far, I have used it a fair few times already. The product doesn't sort of evenly fall down the container, so if I hold it up to the light, I think it's on a sort of diagonal line between these 2 points, so maybe I've used about a quarter of it so far. I'm not sure whether I'm going to completely get through this in 4 months. It might take me more like 6 to 8 months, but I do want to have a good go at it, and if I can make a pretty good indent in this by the end of December, then I'd be really happy with that. I've chosen 3 foundations for this project, and that's because the foundation category in my collection is another one that I want to try and reduce by the end of the year. I got to the point where I was thinking that I've got a bit too many in my collection, I've got quite a few open at the same time, and I just want to make sure that I'm fully using these up. So the first one is the NARS Matte Complete Foundation in the shade Mont Blanc. This is a fairly good colour match for me. It's not 100%, it's probably slightly too dark. I probably should have gone for the next shade down, which I think is Oslo. But it's still, you know, I can get away with it. It's not obviously the wrong shade. As you can see from the markings, I'm about halfway down now, just level with the top of the R there. This does go a long way, so again, I'm not sure whether it's going to be completely used up by the end of the year, but if I could, you know, get a good way down this tube, I'd be more than happy with that. I like the formula. I enjoy wearing it. It seems to respond quite well to my skin type. So yeah, I'm happy to keep using this. It's not going to be too much trouble for me. Next up we have the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, and mine's in the shade 3 Cool. As you can see from the container, I have used this quite a lot. It's probably about halfway done, so there's a bit of air in here now. You can see that you know, it's not as full as it once was. But this shade does pull a little bit too dark on me. I think a lot of these foundations I did purchased during the pandemic, so I wasn't able to go to a counter and get properly shade matched like I would have liked, and I did have to take a bit of a guess when I was ordering my shade online. I don't mind the formula. It's not my favourite foundation, but it's still, you know, something that I don't want to go to waste. Maybe I can mix this with a slightly lighter shade of foundation as well, but another one that I'd like to continue working on before the end of the year. And the last foundation I've chosen is my Holy Grail foundation. This is the Estee Lauder Double Wear, and this formula I just adore. There is nothing better than this in my opinion. It's so long lasting, it doesn't break up throughout the day, it doesn't go patchy, it really does have excellent staying power, and for me, when I go to the office, I'm, you know, applying my makeup probably around 7 in the morning, and when I get home after 6 in the evening, it still looks perfect. So I do really love this formula. The only reason that I'm adding this into the project pan is because the shade again isn't quite right. This is 1C1, which is Cool Bone, and for a time this was the shade that I was wearing, but I did try the shade down, which is 1C0, and I think it's in the shade Shell. Shell matches me so much better. I do get a lot of redness in my complexion on my face, and this is okay for my face, but when I start to blend it into my neck, because I don't have any redness there, and it is sort of my true skin colour, you can sort of see a line slightly, especially if I'm in natural light. So this is one, I just want to use it up, get it out of my collection, and then going forward I will buy all of my double wear in the shade Shell. I've chosen a couple of concealers for the project, the first one being the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer. This one is in quite a good shade for me in my opinion. It's probably slightly lighter than my natural skin tone, so I do like it a lot for brightening the under eye. I thought that also it would blend nicely with the Beautiful Skin Foundation because they're part of the same product range, so maybe I'll pair these together. I could also use this to maybe lighten the foundation a little bit. So yeah, another one that I do want to get used up by the end of December. And the other one that I've chosen is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and this is in the shade Vanilla. This one is one of my all-time favourite concealers. I really like the formula of this, especially when you apply it into the under eye area again. I find that it just gives a really nice natural skin-like finish, and it doesn't crease as easily as some of the other concealers that I have in my collection as well. This one, it's just the fact that it's been open for a while. As I've said, it's one of my favourite formulas and I don't want it to go bad. So I'm happy to carry on using this. It won't be any sort of an issue or a problem for me to reach for this constantly. Next up we have a cream highlighter, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light wand in the shade Spotlight. I love this highlighter. I think that it gives a really beautiful natural glow to the cheek. I am wearing it today. The reason that I've chosen this for the project is I think somehow the packaging got damaged, and as a result you can just see the end here. the stop start is not working anymore. I can't shut it off and it is leaking all of the product into the cap. So for that reason, I just want to make sure that I'm using as much as I can before I eventually have to throw it away. Right now, I'm trying to keep it separate from my makeup collection, because you may be able to see, even as I've put that cap back on, there's bits leaking out of the tube there. So obviously I'm not wanting to travel with it. I don't want to put it in my makeup bag with other products where it's just going to get stuff dirty, and this is just going to leak over everything. So yes, sorry to see this one go, but as I say, just want to get as much use out of it as I can, up until the point that I've got to bin it basically. I've also chosen a few powders to include in this project. They're all pressed powders, so I think they will be easier to use up than obviously a loose powder, and hopefully it will feel quite satisfying, especially as I start to see pan over the next few months. But the first one is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Brightening Flawless Finish Powder. I do really like this product. I really like the Airbrush Flawless Finish formula in general, but the reason that I've chosen to include this is that for whatever reason I just didn't find myself reaching for it in my collection. The original powder, which is this one, and I'm also including this by the way, is that I would just apply the original powder all over the face. I wouldn't think to reach for the separate brightening powder to brighten the under eye area. So for that reason, I wanted to add it into the project just so it got used, because, you know, I don't want to waste anything at the end of the day, and it's a good quality product and it deserves to, you know, get the use. As I've just said, another powder that I'm including in the project is the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the original formula and mine's in the shade Fair. As you can see, this is very, very, very well used in my collection. I do have a couple of these on the go. I tend to keep one in my main makeup collection at home, and then I have another one of these in my handbag to just give a bit of a top up at lunchtime when I'm at work. But, you know, you can see there's a lot of pan in this product already, but there is a good amount of powder still around the edge. So I do want to completely use this up. I've fully panned, I think, at least one of these before. So you've got to have an easy win sometimes in these projects, and I've got no doubt that this will get used up in the next couple of months. And the last couple of powders that I'm including are in the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Face Palette. This was last year's holiday release, and I do get a lot of use out of my Hourglass face palettes. I'm not going to give myself the challenge of using up blush or bronzer, or actually the highlighter would probably be the worst one to try and pan. But these two finishing powders here are really beautiful. I really enjoy the finishing powders from Hourglass, and I've panned many of these in the past. A lot of the face palettes that I've got from previous years, these are the only two shades that I've completely panned in them. I know that I've panned them in the Ghost palette and also the Sculpture palette as well. So I think that this is going to be fairly easy for me to reach for them. I love applying them all over my face after I've completed my base makeup. It just makes the transition between your bronzer, blush and highlighter perfect. It blends them all together and you don't sort of end up with a stripe on the cheek. So I really enjoy these powders a lot, and as I said, I'm happy to get another couple used up from my collection. Yet another Charlotte Tilbury product, and this is the Super Nudes Duo Eyeliner. The reason that I want to use this up is because I actually have two in my collection. I think that I was sent one by mistake and I ended up with two. But this is something that is, you know, very easy to use as part of an everyday makeup look. It's dual-ended, so the top eyeliner is a really nice chocolate brown colour, and I tend to use that on the upper lash line. It's really nice just to add a little bit of thickness to the root of the lashes. You can tight line with it, you can sort of have more of a smoked out wing. It's not obviously as harsh as a liquid liner, and you know, that's one of the reasons I enjoy it. but the other end is a really beautiful matte nude shade, and that one in particular I love to use in the waterline. Adding that nude shade to the eye really does give the illusion that your eyes are larger and a lot more awake. So I'm quite happy to reach for these over the coming months, and hopefully that will be another product I can get used up. And the last Charlotte Tilbury product I'm including in this project is the Lip Cheat in the shade Pillow Talk. Now you can see from the size of this, it's already well loved and used in my collection. If I hold it up against another full-sized lip liner, you can see exactly how much use has been had there. You know, you can't be fooled by it though, because I have been working on this for a few years. So even though there isn't too much left, there may still be months and months of use in here, but the reason that I'm happy to let that go is I do have a backup in my collection. It wasn't something that I intentionally purchased, but I think it was included in maybe one of the holiday collections that I picked up last year. So I know that I'm still going to be able to use this, but it just allows me to reduce the number of liners in my makeup inventory, which, you know, is something that I do want to do. And especially as we go into next year, that's going to be one of my goals for 2024, is to reduce the overall number of products that I have in my collection, because, you know, it was at one point starting to get a bit out of hand, especially over the lockdown period. I was buying a lot of makeup. So, you know, the last year or so, I've tried to, you know, use what I've got more so than buying new things all the time. I've chosen a couple of lip glosses to include in the project as well. The first one was from a previous year's holiday collection, and this is the Fenty Mini Gloss Bomb in the shade Taffy Tease. It's a really beautiful sort of peachy toned lip gloss. The gloss bombs are by far my favourite lip gloss formula. I buy the holiday collection every year just because I enjoy using the lip glosses so much from Fenty. But again, I've got a lot in my collection now. I don't want them to go bad, so I'm happy to get this one used up. But even the mini lip glosses, I mean, this one has 5.5ml of product in it, and for some brands that is more product than their full-size lip gloss. So, you know, there's still a fair amount of use out of these, even though it is a mini item. And I'm also including another gloss bomb. This is a full-size gloss bomb in the shade Fussy, one of my favourite shades from the range. At the moment, I have unfortunately just knocked it over and it sort of disrupted where the product's sitting in the tube. But I think right now I'm level with, I think, the A in Beauty, if I can get my camera to focus. Yeah, just level with A in Beauty. I think if I use this regularly, maybe keep it out on my desk so I'm applying the lip gloss a few times during the day, I might be able to get this completely used up in the next month or two, and then that might free me up to work on another lip gloss in my collection as well. Again, lip glosses, they're not my worst category in my makeup collection, but I do have a lot of glosses, so this is another category where I'd be happy for it to reduce. Next up, we have an oldie but a goodie, and it's Max Fix Plus. This is a product that I really enjoy. I've been a big makeup lover for many years now, and this is probably like the 9th one of these that I've had. You can see from the side here that I've got probably just under half of the product left to use up. I'm not in a rush to get it used. I think I could quite easily space this out between now and the end of the year. I like to apply Fix Plus at the end of my makeup routine just to melt the powder into the skin. It takes away that powdery appearance really, and just gives your complexion a more natural look. And I also like to apply it to my makeup brushes if I'm applying metallic eyeshadow. It really steps the shadow up a couple of gears, and, you know, it's a lot more punchy on the eyelid. Really enjoy this. Sometimes you've just got to go for easy wins, and I'll be happy to, you know, add this to my makeup empties at the end of the year. And for the last two items, I've actually chosen two fragrances. I decided to include fragrance as a category in my project pan last year, and I was really pleased that I was able to do that because it encourages me to use up the perfumes that I have. Back in 2019, I think especially towards the end of the year, I got quite into perfume and I added quite a few to my collection, probably around 5 or 6 at the time. Now, in the pandemic, during the lockdown in 2020 and 2021, I hardly ever reached for perfume, nowhere near as much as I did before when I was going out every day, especially, you know, working in an office. And I realised that as part of my sort of getting ready routine in the morning, fragrance was what I'd reach for, and it'd be the last thing that I'd apply before I physically left the house. So I'd grab it out of my handbag, couple of spritzes on my wrist, and then I'd be straight out the door. But because I was working at home, I never, you know, really thought to reach for them, which is a shame, really. So I've ended up with quite a surplus of fragrances, and I've obviously bought some for birthdays and Christmases as well. So I want to make sure that I'm using them up because, like everything else, they don't have an endless shelf life, and eventually they do go bad. Both of them are from Jo Malone. I really enjoy her fragrances, but these two, although I like them, they're not my favourite from her range. I tend to gravitate more towards Blackberry and Bay and Honeysuckle and Davana, or Davana. I'm never sure how you're supposed to pronounce that one. You know, and I know that if I keep reaching for those constantly, as soon as I use them up, the first thing I'm going to do is replace them straight away. So it's not actually going to chip away at, you know, reducing the perfumes that I have in my collection. This one is Frangipani Flower, and it's a nice fragrance. It's floral, it's quite inoffensive, and this was a limited edition from a few years ago. If I can use this maybe 10 times in a month between now and Christmas, I'd be more than happy with that. I just want to sort of make a dent into it. If I could use it up, that would be fantastic, but, you know, if I could just get this down, at least half of this gone by the end of the year, I'd be happy. And the last fragrance and final product in my project pan is this Jo Malone fragrance in the scent Orange Blossom. Now, this is a 9ml bottle. They're really nice mini fragrances, and, you know, before the pandemic, I was going on holiday, I was travelling with work. These bottles of perfume were really good to take with you, especially on a work trip. But again, all of that stopped during the pandemic, so I don't even think this one's been touched recently. I'm probably more than a third used up, but not quite half. So I'm hoping that this one will be completely finished by the end of the year. Orange is a nice scent to have during the summer, but I also like it in the winter months as well. So yeah, hoping this one will, you know, completely go. So guys, those are all 20 products that I'd like to use up and pan before the end of the year. You're probably sat there at home thinking that I am being far too optimistic, but as I said in the intro, I'm just wanting to give it a good go, trying to get as many products used up and out of my collection as I can before the end of the year. But I think a project pan is a really great way to do that, and obviously it pulls my attention to them and they're less likely to go bad or be stuck at the back of a drawer somewhere. I will be uploading a monthly progress update video just to keep you guys informed as to how I'm getting on between now and the end of the year. But I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you on my next one.